Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to meet with the CFO, but we were able to resolve the issue with the signature. The auditors were lovely. There are people, some of them who we've worked with before, and they gave us all the information we needed to have, so we just exempted the form because we had the information we needed. But it's unfortunate we didn't get a chance to meet with the CFO. I would have liked to have done that.
You know, he made an accusation this morning, wasn't necessarily directed at Jacksonville, but he was very vague, saying that some cities were going through and changing terminology in their data to try to hide certain things. I mean, do you have any suspicion that he's talking about Jacksonville or no?
I don't. I mean, we would never do anything like that. So I don't have any reason to believe he was talking about Jacksonville.
Are you familiar with that? In terms of the access they have to the computers, are there any conditions on it? Is it an unlimited time period, or what's the expectation?
Well, they can look at whatever they want to look at. It's read only, so they can't get in there beyond reading it, but they can read.
Right. Okay. But they didn't sign the agreement.
Yeah, but really, as I said, David, that was really an effort to protect them and us, so that we would know who was getting into the system, so we would know, some basics. It was basically a one-page form. So we just got that information from the auditors, and that was fine. We just wanted to make sure we had the information we needed should there be a problem.
So only the people who y'all met with from that state audit team have access to, they can't give login information to somebody else and that somebody else can log in.
Well,
what are the basic ground rules?
we're not going to be able to police them, but I mean that is what I understand, and I think I have every reason to believe that they're going to do their professional duty. We've worked with some of them before, and they've been very professional.
Your thoughts on the Finance Committee moving to reduce the millage rate this morning? Do you think that that's going to make a notable difference in people's pocketbooks?
Yeah, that was interesting timing, huh? Yeah, I thought so too. I as I've said before, Jake, I am sincerely hopeful that once we get to the full council that we'll have less performers and more statesmen. This is clearly something that is just so fiscally irresponsible for us right now. And it frankly just doesn't give any tax relief to speak of. It gives people a little more than $1 a month into their pockets, and it takes millions of dollars away from what we can spend on public safety, what we can spend on roads and sidewalks and potholes. And these are the things that people are telling us they want. So if we're going to be a world-class city, then we have to be able to invest in our city. And the budget's pretty skinny as it is. As I've said before, we have the lowest millage rate in the state by far of any major city. And we're very responsible with that. You see what the rating agencies have said about us. We spend wisely. This is why I said we're happy to have anybody come in and look at our books. We feel very good about what we've been able to accomplish together with this council. So I have every reason to believe that's all going to be fine. But at the end of the day, the millage rate is just something that I'm frankly going to be very interested once we get to the full council to hear the arguments for that, because these are the same folks that have been saying, oh my gosh, we're about to go over a fiscal cliff, and now they're saying, well, let's go ahead and give millions of dollars back so people can save $1 a month. I don't think most people at home want that. I think what they want to do is to have those amenities that they believe that they deserve. And so I'm hoping we can make that argument when we get the full council together.
Bouncing off that, now they're going through and they're cutting different things that were in your budget proposal to try to make up the deficit that property tax cut would create. Some of the things I've seen so far, it's hard to keep track, there's so many things, but a telehealth pilot program, a dental access program, they're pulling out of the North Florida regional, yeah, I'm trying to keep it all straight today. I mean, your initial thoughts just on some of those programs that are being targeted? And
well, again, I am very hopeful once we get the full council together, we can get some of that stuff back in. I don't think I was very surprised about the dental. That was something that we wanted to do, but we thought council might not go for it. But in terms, and I love the program. I think what people need to understand is that if public safety is a priority to you, then the health of our community plays into public safety. It really does. And so that telehealth program was saving us millions of dollars in emergency room visits and helping thousands of people. I don't understand the reason to cut it. I really do not. It was so very successful. That's one of those things we should have continued to invest in. And as I said the last time that we spoke, when I did my town hall meetings, people loved that thing. You know, we invested in this budget in the very things that people told us in meeting after meeting they wanted us to invest in. So I will let these council people explain to the voters of Jacksonville why $1 back into their pocket every month, for some of them, is going to be better than providing the services that everybody knows that we need if we're going to be a world-class city.
Mayor, on the cuts, $2.5 million in countywide spending for the community benefits agreement. The argument for cutting that line item was to say, well, there's $19 million in countywide spending that can satisfy that portion of the agreement. Do you think that kind of goes against the spirit of the agreement?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I think it goes against the spirit of the agreement. But again, we are at mile 1 of this marathon, right? This is day 1. There's a lot of negotiation to happen. There's a lot of discussions that need to happen. And frankly, I think that there was a lot of pressure on council today with the CFO being here. So I think that hopefully once we get into a posture where we're actually talking about what is good for our citizens, more folks will come back to why they were elected and what they are supposed to do than worrying about whether or not they are pleasing the CFO or anybody else.
You touched on this earlier, maybe a little bit with the millage rate cut. The timing of it was before your administration's presentation to the committee. Any thoughts on that they cut it before your folks had a chance to advocate for the budget?
Well, like I said, I think a lot of today was performance. A couple of people surprised me, but I'm not at all surprised that it passed in finance. I just hope once we get to the full council, we can maybe pull it back. But I don't know. You know, I think there's a lot of pressure right now on these council people to behave in a certain way. And I can tell you that many of them, not all of them, but many of them know that this is the wrong thing to do and have said so. But they are getting incredible pressure to do it. And so I don't know how it will end up, but I'm hopeful that enough people will speak out about the needs in this city and the type of city we want to be that will make them think twice about that. You know, we spent so many years in this city on neutral, not seeing the cranes in the air, not seeing our quality of life improve, watching our streets and sidewalks fall apart. And we are making such great progress in terms of quality of life, our downtown, so many things. And I don't want to see that slow down. I hope they don't either.
3 more questions.
Mayor,
Yeah.
That's a question that my station wants me to ask, but what is your response to council member Rory Bauman alleging on Facebook that you launder $237,000 in DEI funds through the nonprofit United Way?
Well, that's an interesting thing to say. Oh my gosh, I hadn't seen that one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he always comes up with some interesting ways to phrase things. Look, these are programs that we have funded for a very long time that have nothing to do with DEI. They have to do with making sure our most vulnerable citizens have what they need, which in turn helps our quality of life and our public safety. I'm always amazed that people don't make those connections. You know, we obviously have invested a great deal in police and fire, and we want to be able to continue to do that. As I've said, we're on a skinny budget with that as it is right now with the millage rate that we have. But at the end of the day, all these other things play into our quality of life. We're not spending excessively. You know, when we went into this process, the one thing that we wanted to make sure we did, and that we actually told the finance chair we would do, was to come in with a budget that took no money out of reserves. And we did that. And we funded things we thought were mutual priorities. And I thought, you know, the day that we came out with this budget, everybody raved about it. Good budget. It's a good budget. And so I'm just, you know, I'm hopeful once we get to the point where we're a little further on in this process that we can have some more reasoned discussions. Like I said, we're at the very beginning.
Hate to ask you about Diamond twice in a row,
It's
but
okay.
he's got the big, beautiful budget amendment that I think is going to be coming up next week. Your thoughts on him kind of, you know, holding through with this promise to try to get the immigration funding bill that you obviously vetoed, you know, into the budget and, you know, baked
Well,
in.
I can tell you that I don't think that was popular with very large majority of the council. So I would be very surprised to see that come back. Look, we've already seen the courts hold that this is a federal issue. There's really no reason for us to waste any more taxpayer dollars. If you're talking about taxpayer dollar waste. Let's not get sued over things that are not in our lane. So I'm sincerely hopeful that once again, this is just a performance that goes away. But we'll have to see. I don't know.
Last
Mayor,
question.
you campaigned on public health and
I
expanding
did.
that.
Yep.
Some council members on the finance committee were saying they think there's mission creep, there's too much public health spending in your budget, and the telehealth program's one of the ones that was cut as a result of that. First of all, do you think that you'll be able to get a majority of council members to support that telehealth program when the final budget comes up? And secondly, how do you respond to this argument that, you know, the local government's out of its lane to be doing these kind of public health programs? That should be the state and federal government.
Well, what are the state and federal government doing right now, David? Can you tell me? In terms of what's happening for our most vulnerable citizens, in about a year and a half, we're going to see 17 million people lose their health care. What's going to happen to our most vulnerable citizens? I have said I want to focus specifically on the people of Jacksonville. And we have a problem when it comes to primary health. We have a dearth of primary care doctors, and our primary care numbers are bad. And so when I came in, I said, let's improve those. That will improve the quality of life for our citizens. That will improve the quality of life for all of Jacksonville. But at the end of the day, it will also help public safety. So that has been a priority for me. I obviously think it's our lane. In discussions that we had when the budget first came out, it was my understanding they weren't going to go for the health program. So I was very surprised about that one, to be honest. Everybody has agreed that telehealth program has been extraordinarily successful. So I will always be a voice for the people who are the most vulnerable in this city. And what we're going to see here over the next couple of years is a lot of people that are going to be really hurting when it comes to their health care. And what's that going to do to public safety? What do you think that's going to do to public safety? So people need to connect those dots. But absolutely, that's a passion project for me, always has been. I've spent my adult life trying to make sure that people had access to health care. I believe health care is so incredibly foundationally important to quality of life. And so I'm sure there are people on that council that don't believe that we should do that with local dollars. But I would ask you, if the government closest to the people isn't going to do it, and neither is the federal and state government, who's going to do it? Who's going to care for our people in Jacksonville that need those services? And people are telling us they want them. So, you know, that's all I would say about that. It is frustrating for me to hear that argument.
Do you think you can get 10 votes for that?
For telehealth, I hope so. We heard some people speak up for it today, so I'm hopeful we can bring it back. I think that there's going to be all kinds of, we knew coming into this budget that this was a finance committee that was going to try to take an axe to a whole lot of stuff. And so I think our hope is that as we continue you know, down this path, that we'll end up being able to put some of those things back in.
We've got to wrap up, folks.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks,
You
everybody.
bet.
I think I have a week's worth of stories of it today.
We've got fact sheets for you guys, too.
Yeah, and also I didn't give any of this, but if anybody wants these numbers, this is the staff hours that have been committed to this Doge effort just on this tranche. Has nothing to do with the last several that we've already provided, but these are the staff hours and the amount of time and effort that our staff, who should be working to better the lives of our citizens, are spending on this, which, as I said the other day, is the fourth audit that we're going through of our city, which has the AA+ rating. So,
Thank you. It's almost like there's an election next year or something.
you know, honest to God, you know, and I know that that is part of it. You know, I know it is, and I also think there are some fundamental differences of opinion just in terms of what government can and should do. I get all that, but it's always surprising to me the things that are said and done. And what we will be doing here over the next couple of months is we're going to start town hall meetings over again right after Labor Day, and we'll be going out into the neighborhoods once again to tell people why we put what we put into the budget at their request, and to tell them to show up if they want that stuff to be put back in. So,
Go to town halls?
Yes.
I think, okay. And that'll start when, Mayor?
right after Labor Day.
I never get to go to those town halls because they're always in the evening.
Yeah, you do the day stuff, huh?
They're just so important. They're so important. They really, I mean, it's where I feel like I hear all all the real stuff, you know? So I like them. I'd just have them all the time if we had time. I would just keep doing them 24/7 if we had the time, but people will tell you what they think, that's for sure. Anybody else have anything before we go? All good? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.